Okay, it's 7. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock, and I will call the meeting to order with roll call. Councilmember Aguilar.
Here.
Councilmember Armitage.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez. Present. Councilmember Navarrete. Here. Councilmember Estatico.
Here.
And Vice Mayor Alonso may call in. We're waiting for his airplane to land. So if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, and also remain standing for a brief moment of silence for our former Chief Angel Gomez and beloved resident Mike McKee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
From Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16, find where the good way is and then walk in it, then you will find peace in your souls. Lord God, each issue that we face has its good side and a questionable side. We ask for insight and understanding so that we might make the right decisions at all times. Please allow us your grace and your favor that we might see our community become a place of blessing and prosperity. Thank you for walking this road with us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
And thank you, everyone. Going to move on to a few special proclamations. We do have two special guests with us, Evelyn and our foundation representative, Marge, right? Did I get that? Maggie, sorry. Thank you guys for coming, and I will read the proclamation. If you have a few words to say, and I know you probably want to snap a quick picture, we'll move through this. The council does have a pretty extensive agenda today. So, proclamation, April as Promise for the Future Month. Whereas the town of Superior recognizes the value of higher education and adopted the Education Progress Meter and the Achieve 60 attainment goal. And whereas the town of Superior supports completion of post-secondary education by its students to reach their fullest potential, grow local talent, and improve economic sustainability for the community. And whereas Central Arizona College is the only post-secondary institution in Pinal County, and whereas the Central Arizona College Foundation created the Promise for the Future Scholarship for Pinal County high school graduates to earn a tuition-free education at Central Arizona College by agreeing to and fulfilling requirements from 8th grade through high school graduation. And whereas the Central Arizona College Foundation Promise for the Future Scholarship Fund is reliant on contributions from individuals, businesses, corporations, governments, and nonprofits. Now therefore, I, Mila Vesich, Mayor of Superior, proclaim the month of April as Promise for the Future Month to raise awareness that the Central Arizona College Foundation Promise for the Future scholarships provide affordable higher education to our students and urges individuals, businesses, corporations, government, and nonprofits to consider supporting the Central Arizona College Foundation Promise for the Future to create a sustaining legacy for students to achieve their full potential within a tuition-free post-secondary education at Central Arizona College. And I think it's one of the most hidden gems of our county that we have this opportunity. It's a huge asset. I know my kids have both benefited from it, and I know I see a lot of our kids from Superior being able to participate. So we really appreciate all the work of the foundation board, and I don't know if you guys have a few words to say. But
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. As many of you know, this was started back in the early 2000s to stem the dropout rate for Pinal County. And not that we can draw the direct link, but we think that we're turning things around. There's been over 4,000 students over the last number of years who've taken advantage of this from throughout the county. And we are the only institution in Arizona who has this particular program. So we're glad to continue it, but certainly need everyone's support, so this is part of awareness. So let me toss it over to Maggie for a second.
Sure, and thank you for having us here this evening. Madam Mayor, council members, we appreciate being here. We do have a poster we'd like to leave with you that celebrates April as College Promise Month. We're actually one of about 90 programs throughout the United States, and so it has been designated as National College Promise Month. Gives us an opportunity to celebrate our students who have received promise promise for the future tuition, but also to encourage students who are in the program right now to stay on course and also talk to their parents and helping their students stay on course. As Evelyn said, this program has been in the county since 2001. The first student came through the program in 2005, and it's a real collaboration, as you know, between the middle and high schools and the college and the foundation and many different entities who help support it through private donations. To that end, we just want to let you know that we are entering into a campaign called 25 Changes Lives. It is a multi-year campaign to raise $1.5 million to help with the sustaining legacy of the program. We feel that if we know that if we want this program to go on and on and on and really be a legacy for the county. Currently, we have about a $2.5 million endowment, and we're looking to grow that to $10 million over the next 5 or 6 years. If it takes longer, we're going to do it. It's really an outreach and fundraising campaign, and it's called 25 Changes Lives because we have looked at how many people live in Pinal County, and if we can receive $25 from half of those households, we could raise $1.5 million. So we're going to be out visiting many people and spreading the word about Promise, letting them know all about the program, as well asking them if they would be willing to, pitch in a little bit as we still write grants and do many of our other fundraising activities. So I just want to thank you again for having us here this evening. And if you don't mind, I'll leave a poster. Your town clerk. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know many of you have also contributed to the foundation, so thank you.
Do you know how many students went through Use Promise for the Future last year?
In Superior?
No.
Well, in general, last year, we had, since 2005, we've had 4,500 students who have received scholarships for a total of $6,780,000. Last year, we gave 192 students a total of $440,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. One of those students was mine. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This is your copy. Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it. Okay. We have the Power Talk 21 proclamation. Do we have anyone here from Power Talk to represent? No. All right, I'm going to read this very quickly. Especially in honor that this weekend is prom. We want all of our students to be safe and make good decisions. Whereas the town of Superior recognizes the importance of parents talking with their teens about alcohol and other drugs in order to reduce the risks and dangers posed to teens and communities. And whereas high school students who use alcohol or other substances are 5 times more likely to drop out of school or believe good grades are not important. And whereas 27% of middle school students try alcohol before graduating from 8th grade, significantly increasing the risk that they will develop alcohol problems later in life. And whereas teen alcohol use kills 4,300 people each year, more than all other illegal drugs combined. And whereas the majority of kids say their parents are their primary influence when it comes to decisions about drinking alcohol. And whereas Power Talk 21, started by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, in 2011, is established to encourage parents and caregivers to embrace the important role in influencing America's youth and their decisions about drinking alcohol and using other drugs. And whereas in 2019, MAD encourages parents to use Power Talk 21 as part of the Power of Parents program to create a sustained and prolonged conversation about underage drinking and other drugs among middle school and high school students. And whereas to equip parents to talk with their teens about alcohol, MAD Arizona on throughout the month of April will host Power of Parents workshops to give parents the tools to effectively talk to their children about alcohol and other drugs to protect them. And whereas I urge all citizens to join in the local and national efforts to raise awareness of the importance of parents and teens talking together about alcohol to reduce the risks and dangers posed to teens and communities. And now therefore I do, Mila Vestage, as Mayor of Superior, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019 to be the Power Talk 21 Day. So we thank them for their advocacy, and we do have a local or a regional substance abuse coalition that's been getting started and creating some youth groups and adult parenting groups, so I urge everyone to get involved with that. I believe they have a meeting here towards the end of the month, and it's on their Facebook page, the Copper Community Substance Abuse Coalition. Agenda item number 3 on our special presentations is going to be moved to the May agenda. We had some scheduling conflicts with that, but in case there are people that don't come next month, this is Superior Mining Services, Audinetto Construction, who went in and helped us do some work at our industrial park lot that we still have available for sale. They did some grading and drainage, helped us with that, so we'll publicly thank them next month. We're going to move on to staff reports. Feel like I don't have a whole lot to say. Congratulations to City of Casa Grande and City of Eloy. They've had some very monumental, Eloy opened a new town hall and Casa Grande opened their new multi-gen center. It took them Casa Grande took them 14 years from the time they passed their bond. So I think we have a big challenge because we have to compress that into 4 years, council, and I was there letting everybody know that they'll be coming to our grand opening soon. The food court is coming along very nicely. The Copper Communities Food Hub has set the second Friday in June, which is June 12th, as a grand opening celebration. The Arnett Trail opening has received some coverage in the AZ Central newspaper and surfaced online. They're expecting some print coverage on Saturday in Saturday's paper. Trying to think of where else I've been, what I've been working at. Oh, well, while I was at the Casa Grande opening, we also congratulated Eloy that they have received the Phoenix Suns grant, and in that process, in talking to Rich Rosales from APS, we learned that we were actually in pretty high contention as a finalist, so we have some hope that there will be our grant application will be re-reviewed and could use for one of our projects. So that's about it for my update right now. I don't have other things going on. I'm going to turn it over to Todd. He's going to introduce our newest employee.
I would like to introduce Svetlana Clark. She is an engineering tech for us now. She has come to us from San Francisco, I believe, was your last position, or was it?
Santa Rosa.
Well, go ahead and come up and give us a little of your background. I did pass her resume to the council, and maybe she can give us a little. And I'm enjoying putting her on the spot, which is probably me.
I've been, when people ask me, oh, you have an accent, I said, well, I'm a Californian from Russia. I lived in California for 20 years, worked in California, civil engineering companies, mostly, doing civil engineering designs. Last year we have moved to Arizona. It is my husband's work. My husband works in Union Bank, Tempe. They offered him a job and I said, let's go. We never regret it. I really love here. And I do very much fall in love with your little town, which is, I call it already mine. It reminds me of my hometown. Same small community, about 5,000 people, cats and dogs are running on the street.
Did you just say cats and dogs are running on the street? I'm hearing things.
And it's one of his dogs. So.
But will the dogs be at the dog park? That's the question.
Hopefully someday.
She's going to design it.
She's going to at the dog park. But Svetlana, welcome to the team. Welcome to our Superior family. we get to share our office room together, and it's very, I'm very pleased. I think you have a wonderful touch with our residents, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much, and welcome, welcome, welcome. With that being said, I'm going to read this very long consent agenda for council. And remember, this consent agenda pulls back from the March meeting because we had to cancel due to, we didn't have a quorum. So we are going to approve the minutes of regular meeting on February 11th, 2019. Approval of minutes of special meeting on February 14th, 2019. Approval of minutes of special meeting strategic retreat on March 21st, 2019. Approval of minutes of special meeting on March 25th, 2019. Approval of alcohol permit for Social Club Ogalopez on March 16th, 2019 for horseshoe tournament behind the Senior Citizens Building. Approval of alcohol permit for Legends of Superior Trails, Inc. for the Town Thank You Barbecue for the Lost at the Magna Club on March 24th, 2019. Approval of the alcohol permit for Janine Duarte for 8th grade promotion party at Magna Club on May 23rd, 2019. Approval of state liquor license for Red Bear Outfitters applicant Francisco B. Moreno on May 10th and 11th, 2019 at Roses Flowers for the outside deck. Approval of IGA agreement for the creation and participation of the Arizona Child Abduction Response Team CART. The primary goal of CART is to provide a pool of specialized investigators which are available to focus dedicated and intensive investigative, preventative, and general law enforcement efforts, primarily with regards to cases involving abducted children. Approval of state alcohol license for Good to Go, Highway 60 and Western Avenue, Superior, Arizona, 85173. Approval of Fire Department Safe Baby Haven, SOG. The purpose is to outline the policy and procedures to be followed by uniformed Superior Fire Department personnel in the event that a parent or legal agent of a parent leaves an infant baby with a uniformed staff member of the Superior Fire Department. Approval of Firehouse Subs Grant. The Superior Fire Department has applied for a grant through Firehouse Subs in the amount of $22,268.37 for 25 sets of dual-purpose wildland extrication PPE jacket and pants, as well as 30 new Scott SCBA masks. This Firehouse Subs Grant is fully funded with no local match. Approval of Valerie Garcia de Nojian, employee of the Superior Unified School District, to serve on the Community Development Committee per the Multi-Generational Center Development Gift Agreement and the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center Gift Agreement if the nominated resident is an employee of the Town of Superior or one of the member organizations, SUSD, Chamber of Commerce, RCML. The nominee must be unanimously approved by the Town of Superior and each of the member organizations. Number 14, approval of Pitney Bowes NASPO Value Point FMV lease agreement, option C, for the postage meter in Town Hall. The initial term is for 48 months and the monthly payment amount $163.28. With the agreement, we will be getting a new postage meter. Approval of First Amendment to Bateman Food Service Agreement. This First Amendment to the Bateman Food Service Agreement, Senior Center Congregate and Homebound Meals, is made this 18th day of February 2019 by and between the Town of Superior and Bateman Community Living, LLC, Bateman. The term of the agreement is set forth in Section 6, first paragraph, is hereby extended for an additional 12-month period commencing on April 1st, 2019 and ending on March 31st, 2020, revising pricing schedule effective April 1st, 2019 as followed from $8.91 to $9.22 per meal, and you did have your department reports in your packet. Council, is there any questions, comments, or changes to the consent? Anything you want to take off the consent? Question.
Item 7 says approval of alcohol permit. I want you all to listen here. Approval of alcohol permit for Janine Duarte for 8th grade graduation party. And I want you to think about that for a second. When I was in 8th grade, they didn't allow us to have alcohol.
Thank you, Councilmember Armitage, for bringing that to the record, because when you read it, it does sound funny, and I think for the publicly should know that this is for the adults at the party to
Well,
enjoy adult beverages.
we just did approve alcohol for baby showers, so
I guess that was the precedent then, right?
Well, I mean, I think it just goes to prove that,
It's never the consumption of the agenda.
yes, it's for those, and these are private events. I did have a resident question me because some of these are dated from the past. Council staff does have the opportunity to sign that. I was absent I was still out of state for the social club, and I authorized Todd to sign that because we didn't have a full-on council meeting, but we were able to do it because these are not alcohol for sale. These are just private parties, private events that were happening on town property, so.
I have a question for Todd. If I can.
Yes.
Food service or senior center food, budgeted wise,
It's budgeted.
the added cost, what's the added cost compared to last year?
This year, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's about $55,000 we pay for meals. This will increase it by 4%.
Okay.
So, it's written into the contract. They get a certain increase based on the rate of inflation every year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
There is a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Estatico. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'm going to move on to new business. This is item 8A. Discussion, possible approval of easement agreement for the Lost Trail between VHP Copper, Inc., a Delaware corporation grantor, and the Town of Superior and Arizona Municipal Corporation grantee. Staff recommends approving this agreement. This is part of the Lost Trail extension from the airport to the US 60 park. The purposes of this easement are for the grantee, through its agents, employees, contractors, guests, and invitees, including the general public, collectively the benefited parties, to develop, improve, maintain, and operate a public trail for pedestrian and other non-motorized recreational uses until such time if that grantee ceases to maintain the trail for purposes of a public trail for 12 consecutive months. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this particular agenda item? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this agenda item?
I move to approve the easement agreement between VHP Copper and the Town of Superior.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Navarrete. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item B, discussion possible approval of resolution 19606, a resolution of the Town of Superior accepting from Reese Holdings LLC the deed of easement for public purposes as described herein, and the agreement to donate easement and waiver of appraisal and compensation for said easement. Staff recommends approving this resolution. This is for the Lost Trail extension between the Superior Airport and US 60 Park. This is the piece in between the VHP properties that we need to cross to get the trail all the way to the US 60 Park. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this easement? Mr. Reese has already signed it and submitted it. If there's no further questions or comments, we have a...
Just where we at with the other third party?
That's a whole step, that's not really part of the trail, so to say, but
Okay,
he's,
all right, never mind.
We have submitted a contract draft to him, and we're going back and forth.
Okay,
it's like in process, but it's in,
I thought that was part of that. That's what I was asking.
no, Mr. Reese is, it's just his separate.
So we have all the property that we need for the lost food.
Yeah, we can get from point A to point B. It
Okay.
would be better to have his property, yes.
Yeah, we can get from the airport to US 60 Park now. We just need to.
So theoretically, you could go from picket post,
Yes,
All the way to the tunnel, yes.
all the way to the tunnel.
awesome.
So, all right, with that being said, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item C. Discussion, possible approval of ordinance 19-154, an ordinance of the Town of Superior, Pinal County, Arizona, amending Article 3, Section 3.5, and Article I don't know what that number is, whatever that,
Eight.
eight. I'm sorry, I don't know my Roman numerals too well. Sections 13.11 and 13-12 of the town zoning ordinance. Pass and approve, the recommendation is to pass and approve ordinance 19-154, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Superior, Pinal County, Arizona, amending Article 3, Section 3.5, Article 8, Section 13-11 and 13.12 of the town zoning ordinance. Discussion. On March 7, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved resolution number 2019-2, recommending that the town council amend Article 3, Section 3.5 and Article 8, Sections 13.11 and 13.12 as follows. Words that have been eliminated are struck out. Words that have been added are in bold, italicized print. All other wording remains the same. The ordinance allows more flexibility for the code compliance officer who deals with this issue. It also allows more flexibility for RV owners, such as allowing owners to temporarily occupy RVs with a permit. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this? I'm going to defer to staff if there are any.
This includes all the junk cars and everything,
No,
No?
that's completed, that's, junk cars are addressed in Town Code, Section 10. This is just RVs.
Okay.
So no trailers can be
Right now, a trailer is only allowed to be past the front line of your house. This says it can now be past the front line of your house or inside the front setback, whichever is less. So if you have a 20-foot setback on the front of your house, you can park your RV inside that setback and still be legal. It just gives a little more flexibility for those houses that they do not have the option of putting in a trailer. It also allows temporary use permits for storage. If you have a non-conforming, you need to store it on your driveway for 15 days. You come to town hall, I sign a permit, and you're done for 15 days. If you need it for 6 months, you have to come to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they will approve a permit for up to 6 months. It will not be renewed, it's just a temporary permit.
Is this to keep them off the streets?
Yes. And right now, our zoning code is very restrictive. It just says you cannot store it on the property unless it's behind the front line of your house. There is none of these exemptions in there. We're trying to make it less restrictive a little bit and give a little flexibility to the code enforcement officer so he can give people time to fix things. It also says you can live in it for up to 15 days with a temporary permit that I sign, the same as a special use permit. If you want to live in it for up to 6 months, you can do that with cause. If you have a hardship or something like that, you go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they approve it for up to 6 months. If you have a building permit, you can live in the RV while you have the building permit, which has always been allowed, but it's not written in the code, so now it's written in the code. This went through 2 public hearings, 3 meetings. It was approved, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, as much as they wish there was a better solution, because the public raised lots of questions, they figured this was the best compromise solution after studying it thoroughly. So this is our best moderate approach to dealing with the problem.
So that's the only change that you're asking for in this ordinance, correct?
Yeah, it does have some more little details in there. None of them are particularly, that's the meat of the matter.
So junk cars was already in there, and the other one, the special use permit vendor, that was already in there, that's not changed either.
No.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all discretional? I mean, say somebody's fixing their car, it's an old car, and it's like,
Town code says you can only do that for 30 days. And it's all spelled out in Town Code Section 10. So you can do it up, you can have a non-running vehicle for 30 days. Beyond that, it has to be licensed, registered, it has to run, or you can't have it stored. Or it has to be under a cover, or inside a garage, behind an obscure fence. One of the oddities of our code is if you throw a cover over it, it's legal. So that's one of the things our code enforcement officer runs into quite a bit. Somebody buys a plastic tarp, throws it over the car. It'll last for about 2 weeks, and then the car's exposed again. But our code allows that, so we have to do what we got.
That may be another discussion if council so wishes to talk to staff and maybe a project for planning and zoning to review. But at this time, we are working on this current ordinance 19 154. I appreciate the work of our planning and zoning and staff and the time that they took to have the public hearings involved so the public could weigh in on this. With that being said, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 19-154?
Make a motion to approve.
Councilmember Navarrete has a change for us, I think.
Yes, I do have a change on, under 13.11, letter E, the last sentence states, upon obtaining a certificate of occupancy for the house, the RV is to be removed from the property, which I don't necessarily agree with, because if they need to store it, then as long as they're meeting the storage requirements, it should not have to be removed.
Oh, good catch.
So I don't know where we need to add to that sentence, or it's okay to just eliminate that sentence.
I don't know that it's necessary in there at all.
Okay.
We could, however, modify it to say, upon obtaining a certificate of occupancy for the house, the temporary occupancy permit is void. So you say that, you know, that when they move into the house, then that permit is no longer valid. And so they have to, and they would have to apply for another temporary use permit if they wanted to live in it for 15 days under the code. But, I don't know if that line's even really
Can you
necessary.
say a change may be needed?
Huh?
I think it could be perceived as redundant, since if they have it, they own one, they would store it properly, they need to store it properly, couldn't you just strike it completely?
Yes, I would say striking completely is the simplest.
What do you think, Councilmember,
Yeah,
strike it
I think
completely? Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor to approve the ordinance striking the comments referenced by, or the sentence referenced by Councilmember Navarrete at 13.11, section E, to strike this
Last sentence.
last sentence?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Councilmember, for catching us on that one. Moving on to agenda item D. Discussion, possible intergovernmental agreement for transfer of Town of Superior used law enforcement vehicles and equipment to the town of
Mayor?
Mammoth.
Mayor,
Yes.
this is agendized as a public hearing, so we do have to.
Oh, okay. Do I have to go back to that other thing?
Yes, I do believe that. I
Oh,
apologize.
sorry.
The attorney just pointed it out.
So do I have to remove that motion and ask everybody if they
Mayor
want?
and council members, you could open up a public hearing, and if you have comment from the public, you could vote to reconsider the approval of your prior action, and you could address it at that time.
Okay.
So what we just voted on was it?
Yeah, we should have, sorry, I didn't.
It doesn't say that on the agenda.
In the agenda packet, there was a notice of a public hearing.
Not the one we're looking at. Not the one in the back. There's a public hearing on E, should that be there? On item E, there's a public hearing, and I don't know if there should be a public hearing there. It's just a resolution.
Yeah, this is discussion possible approval of ordinance. It doesn't have public hearing on there.
So on the back agenda, on item E, you have public hearing before adoption of a resolution. So maybe the mistake was, maybe instead of putting it on C, they might have put it on E. I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Perhaps we need a ruling from our attorney. It was properly posted. It just wasn't on the agenda as a
Okay.
public hearing, but I don't know if we can proceed on it or not.
Mayor and council members, in the agenda packet that was provided to the public and also put on the website, we had placed in there that basically that we had published this in the newspaper, given notice to the public, that we would be conducting a public hearing on April 11th concerning Article 3, Section 3.5, and Article 13, Section 13.1, outdoor storage, and then also the dumping and disposal of the town ordinance. And so I believe that it was, although we didn't do it in the agenda the way it should have, because we did publish it in the paper, And we published this on March 20th according to the notes that we had, that this would be a proper public hearing. My recommendation to you would be this, is to hold the public hearing. If there is comments from the public concerning the proposals that you have passed in the ordinance, you have the right to basically go back and reconsider the ordinance and then further deliberate on what you've approved.
Okay, so therefore, is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the public regarding the approval of ordinance 19-154? Anybody? Okay, no one wishes to make a comment, so we're gonna go back to the future here, and we will stay with the motion and discussion. So thank you, everyone, for just moving a little too swiftly. All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item D. Discussion, possible intergovernmental agreement for transfer of Town of Superior used law enforcement vehicles and equipment to the town of Mammoth. Staff recommends approving this IGA. Superior is in possession of used vehicles and miscellaneous equipment. Mammoth is in need of vehicles and used equipment for law enforcement function. Superior has a desire and ability to assist Mammoth. Cooperation would result in Mammoth obtaining a vehicle and law enforcement equipment from Superior, and Superior would avoid the additional expenditure of public funds for disposing of the vehicle and equipment by directly relinquishing ownership to Mammoth. There is a need in cooperation between Mammoth and Superior in law enforcement issues. This intergovernmental agreement will promote efficiency in the use of public funds and will encourage future cooperation between both public entities. Pursuant to the Arizona Revised Statute annotated ARS S11-951, the parties are authorized to enter into intergovernmental agreements for the purpose of exchanging property and taking a joint or cooperative action. Council, do you have any questions or comments on this? Hearing no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for transfer of the Town of Superior used law enforcement vehicles and equipment to the town of Mammoth.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Navarrete. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We're going to move on to agenda item E. Now, I have to have a public hearing on this housing hearing as well? Or no?
Mayor, council members, I think because we've had it on the agenda.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to open a public hearing in regards to approval of Resolution 19-607, a resolution of the mayor and town council of the Town of Superior, Arizona, adopting a fair housing policy, making known its commitment to the principle of fair housing and describing actions it shall undertake to affirmatively further fair housing. Staff recommends approving this resolution. This is a required resolution. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the public fair housing resolution? All public entities have to pass this. That being said, council, do you have any questions or comments for staff? Hearing none. Do we have a motion? Do you have a question?
What exactly is the fair housing policy at this point?
I think the best way to talk about the fair housing policy is that it's a requirement of the federal government that entities that take on federal housing dollars or CDBG dollars, that we all agree to adopt fair housing standards. So you can't pass discrimination, you can't discriminate, you can't create a situation where you would make somebody, put them in bad housing conditions and things like that. So it's a very uniform resolution, but it's really not anything that we've enacted as a housing policy, but it's something that we have to do to maintain our CDBG dollars.
And we are reaffirming that by approving this resolution, that we are basically going to follow those federal guidelines, and we will not discriminate on any type of housing based on race, color, creed, orientation, and the usual other things that go in there as well, and that we'll comply with all the federal laws and requirements with regards to housing, that we do not do it in a non-discriminatory manner.
Okay. With that being said, do we have a motion to approve resolution 19-607?
I I move to approve resolution 19-607.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item F, discussion possible approval of resolution 19-608, a resolution of the town council of the town of Superior, Pinal County, authorizing the submission of a highway safety grant application to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety for Fire. Staff recommends approving this resolution. This resolution is required to submit for the grant. The grant is in the amount of $20,595.71. There is no match. It is a reimbursement grant. The town has sufficient reserves to administrate this grant.
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going to move on to the fun agenda item of the night. Thank you, CAG staff, for waiting around for us. Discussion possible approval of the Town of Superior Parks Capital Improvement Plan for 2019. Staff recommends approving this Parks Capital Improvement Plan. Discussion, the mission of the Parks Capital Improvement Plan is to create a plan that will ensure the maintenance and future development of exceptional parks and associated facilities within the Town of Superior. The creation of the Parks and Recreation Plan was identified as a strategy with the 2018 through 2023 strategic plan. This document serves as a template for current park maintenance and future park development for the town. Brad Meekum from CAG is here to present the plan. This is part of the CDBG 2017 funding. This is the first phase of the plan, design, build project the town council adopted. Brad, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Excited to be here tonight to bring this plan before you. Just wanted to let you know we've been working with the public on this plan. We've presented a couple times at council and been working with town staff. We included some initial just demographics just to kind of run through the plan, just the town of Superior and where you guys are at. Nothing earth shattering, I don't think there. But we also included some national statistics and trends that you can see. So the trends that are going on nationally is that just some of the things that you'll see is that the average expenditure per resident is about $78.26 nationally. Currently in the budget, and part of this is just budget tracking, but just utilizing the budget just to keep it fair with some of the comparison communities we made. Superior is currently spending about $15.49 with plans to obviously invest additional funds in parks and in improvements and potential staff. So just a quick highlight there. And then also just another thing with the resolution funding that's coming available. Typically a recreation center only has one recreation center per about 27,000 residents. So the fact that the town is getting a recreation center, a multi-gen center that is going to be, from the looks of it, pretty top of the line, is a really great amenity and a really good asset for the town. So I think that's a really good project moving forward. And just some information on sources of operating expenditures. Most communities spend about 60% in their parks budget just from the general fund. Just little highlights in there. I don't want to spend too much time on this stuff. The meat of it gets into the back. Let's move forward. There's just some ideas on pages like 10 and 11 on ideas for generating revenue. This was one of the areas where typically parks and recreation programs generate about 28% of their revenue from existing programs, from existing parks. That can be anywhere from facility rentals, park rentals, pavilion rentals, any type of summer programs that are operated. So that's a typical way that, and giving you ideas of ways in the future to help generate revenue directly so it won't come from your general fund. It could help support and be a little bit more self-sustaining. To continue on, there's missions, goals, and objectives. Focus mainly on maintenance, new amenity development, funding for parks, and then also preserving and highlighting the town character. And then after that, on pages 12 and 13, it's just kind of a basic inventory of what's at each park. And there's different levels of service based on the size of the park. There's a map on page 17 that's kind of the park service areas. What's considered walkable for a mini park is about a quarter mile. For a little bit larger park, and all these definitions are in there, so I don't want to bore you with definitions, but all this stuff is in there. And we have some trail mapping that's provided by the Recreation User Group, and some of that. On page 20, we have a summary of the survey that we did. We utilized SurveyMonkey to do a survey. The same sort of survey format was utilized in the public meeting to see where people wanted things and also what amenities they wanted. Multi-generation recreation center, which it cannot be covered by CDBG funds, at least in this round, could not be utilized in these funds, so the fact that Resolution is stepping up to the plate once again is a really good deal. So baseball, softball fields, playground equipment, lighting, and picnic shelters kind of round out the top 5 there. There wasn't really any geographic distribution of where people wanted things. Sometimes when you do these plans, like the southeast portion of town, just a little bit more wanted a playground than anywhere else in the town. It's also your most dense area of the community in terms of population density. But that's just the only little tidbit I was able to pull out of some of the geographic distribution of some of the parks. And then I summarized some of the comments that we had received on page 21. Included in the appendix is all of the comments that I received in association with this plan creation. But a lot focused on maintenance, something to do indoors during the summer months, very important in Arizona. Baseball, softball tournaments and past successes with those. Lighting of park facilities and walkways and the need things for youth to do on nights and weekends. Received about 120 different survey results, which is pretty good for a community of this size. Page 22.
There is mention of the dog park in there, Bruce, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, we discussed that last time. We made a really terrible joke. Page 22, this is where I think you get more into the context of what people are doing and what residents of Arizona expect out of a community for parks. As you can see, the national average for park expenditures per capita per person was about $78. Within these comparison communities, I tried to find communities that were along highways, that were similar in size, and some just in close proximity with the current. So included in there, the budget figures that they have, the number of parks and facilities that are included, and then also the number of employees and also their per capita spending based on the budget. So as I said, the weighted average for these 5 communities is spending about $45.70 per capita. So this would allow just a better comparison in terms of tax structures and what's available within Arizona for a community of this size. This is probably more appropriate comparison versus the national. And then also in that, I just put in there the assumption if Superior were to make that per capita spending a goal, that would eventually lead to about $138,000 being programmed for the town of Superior for Parks and Rec. Just an idea. If you wanted to kind of benchmark yourself against these communities, that's about where the park budget could be for maintenance, for personnel, for renovation, any of that stuff. And then finally on pages 23 through the end, included a schedule for each park, just by park, and that includes the funding source. And then at the very end, there's a schedule that's just everything all in one table that you can process. There's about $313,000 left in CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funding. That's going to be targeted in Vestas Park, the pool and the skate park, and the Magna Club. Fulfilling a lot of the things that were wanted in the survey. It's distributing some of the funds throughout the town to the downtown, east side, and then the southwest side. So that will distribute CDBG funds. Resolution Copper, there's about $200,000 on the table. We focus those funds on the 60 park for the playground and dog park that's been planned. Svetlana Clark, oh yeah, Svetlana Clark has been instrumental in helping to do the initial conceptual design concepts for these parks. So she's been involved in the process, and it's nice to have somebody on staff that's been involved in the process. And Mr. Pryor has been very involved in the process, well, and I appreciate their assistance. And Will Dan Engineering has done a lot of the estimates within here with some edits from Ms. Clark as well. So we included all those, the resolution funds, the CDBG funds, and eventually some of the additional items would need to, once again, either be funded by the town of Superior or identification of future grant funds. And really excited for the town of Superior. You have about $500,000 just sitting on the table to utilize. It's a really good opportunity. And I'd just like to thank staff that's been involved in this process and council for your input on the process. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a very good report and very, very usable document. So great work, CAG staff. Thank you, Brad. Council, with that being said, we need a motion to approve this wonderful capital improvement plan.
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilmember Statico. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Armitage. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and your dog park is now officially on a capital improvement plan, Council. So, I'm very excited about the dog park. All right. At this time, because council has 2 executive session items that we'll need to address, council will probably come out with some action after one of them. I'm going to move to agenda item number 9, call to the public. Do we have anybody on the list? Okay. Hold on, I'll just go ahead and go up and tell.
No, that's fine, if you got other things to say.
No, it's fine. They usually bring me the form, and,
I've been very busy this last week going to a lot of meetings, and I cannot tell you how impressed I am with this town, even more so than I was when I first moved here. I spent the last day with Lana, and I have to tell you what an improvement it was to 6 years ago when we came in here first to buy a house. The comments, the treatment we received from planning was why we didn't move here in the first place. But I have to tell you, the change is amazing. It's great. And I do have a question. Because I am a newbie, the superintendent filled me in on a lot of things that are going on in the school. I know this is a lot to ask, but is there any way us newbies can get more information about what's going on in different areas by maybe a calendar of some sort that can be picked up? That we can purchase, not for free, we can purchase, maybe, I don't know. But it's frustrating for me because I didn't know half of the stuff that the superintendent told me about, and it was wonderful to hear.
thank you, Ms. Becky, for your,
She did say wonderful, by the way.
yes, thank you for your wonderful compliments, and I know I've had the pleasure of talking to you on the street. During call to the public, I cannot publicly address you or answer your questions.
That's fine.
I can direct staff to work with you, but you brought up an issue that we are working on, some calendar items and things like that. So if you work with Mr. Pryor and Super Council Member Estatico here.
Hey, you guys are all super, because I can't leave out Mr. Armitage, which is my neighbor, and he's fantastic. He always talks to me, so I can't leave him out either.
I think Councilmember Armitage can definitely guide you to finding some
He has
areas
been great so far, so.
to get more involved.
Then I've got one more thing. I would.
Dog park, right?
Yes. I would really like to thank the police department. I have not had the opportunity for the last 3 weeks to pick up beer bottles, use hypodermic needles, use marijuana joints, and I won't go into what's all up in the circle. I have talked to the officers till I'm blue in the face, though, about speeding that continues to be a huge problem. And I almost got hit head-on by the same family that seems to not realize there are 2 sides to the street up in Highland. And these are the people that are the most common speeders. And I don't know what to do. I know the officers, they're fantastic, the fire department's fantastic, but what can I as a citizen do to help? Because they've got a new vehicle, and now it's a big SUV, and I'm terrified that one of these children in our wonderful neighborhood is gonna get hit, and I don't know what to do anymore. So if anybody has anything that would help, I would gladly help in any way I can.
Well, thank you, and I'm sure our staff will be in contact with you about some of that. I know Mr. Statico has on school bus signs and things like that, so
Well,
I'm sure we can come up with something.
yeah, I really can't tell you how wonderful this community is, and I don't say that lightly because you guys are great. I mean, everybody is so willing to work with you and make sure you're doing it the right way. And that's all we want to do too, is do it the right way. And Lana was absolutely fantastic. I cannot tell you, I was in tears thinking I had to deal with the planning department 6 years ago, because it is nothing like it. I would send anybody to her, and she was absolutely wonderful. I can't tell you what a miraculous thing that is. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and welcome to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Last call for call to the public? No one on the list? No one else? I'm going to move to council, summary of current events from the council members. Councilmember Aguilar? Councilmember Armitage?
Just want to compliment P&Z on the effort that they made to get those ordinance changes to us. I think they really did a great job, and compliments to them.
Councilmember Lopez?
Tomorrow is going to be the last T-ball game, and then I think they take a week off, and then the other team starts. So if you have a chance, it's nice to watch those little guys just run around. And little girls, a lot of little girls too. So it's really entertaining for an evening. So enjoy.
That seems like it went by so fast. Councilmember Navarrete?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Councilmember Statico?
Tomorrow, Saturday's prom, and 2 events at the end of April, the high school honors assembly, and these are all both open to the public. Our seniors generally earn about over $200,000 worth of scholarships every year, and the junior high honors assembly is April 30th. High school is April 25th, so.
Yes, and I my comments, want to thank staff. Everybody's been doing a good job. We've had a lot of projects going on. Everybody's coming together quite nicely. Thank you to everybody who worked on the Arts Festival this last weekend. I heard it was a really great success. And there is a flag retirement ceremony on Saturday hosted by our VFW. So council, unfortunately I'm in one of my last Flynn Brown classes, so if someone from council could attend, that would be wonderful. With that being said, I'm going to go back to our regular agenda item. We have 2 executive sessions, and one is the discussion on proposed operations of Bronco Creek. Mr. Cooper, do I have to go in and then come back out on that item, or can I go in and just talk about both?
You have the ability to talk about both.
Okay. So with that being said, council, I need a motion to,
I'll make a motion for council, mayor, attorney, town manager, town clerk, and possibly the chief to go in for not more than an hour. Is that satisfactory?
sounds satisfactory. There's a motion on the floor by Councilmember Statico to discuss both items.
To discuss items H and the other item in the executive session.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And council, if you need a convenience break, we will be meeting in my conference. say, oh my gosh, the rigor, my brain is like ready to explode all the time, all the time. All worth it. It was so wonderful, like, it was neat when we emotional experience, and we all got halfway through, and then it's like everybody kind of broke down, like, yeah, so good job, Andrea. We'll see you trying to expedite this session along here. Hello,
Yeah, that's true. So do I. Very strange. See that?
My marriage.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Did you, I'm from San Benito, right behind the Baptist Church, the Road Park Expressway, and then Country Club. I'm in that corner. M section? Oh, that's a newer section, newer, yes, newer section.
There's always the one that's always, my saddest one is it's always the saddest part of the the pool's there, but there's no communities around that. Ever since I first came back.
We got, we're the first thing when we got.
Yeah, and
One is cars, remember how the one for Expressway was near accident? That college, and then after they built the casino, it's even gotten worse. Isn't it done worse for the casino? Now it's.
What are you supposed to open with?
How much do you want to do?
New section,
Well,
they're putting houses like this, 3-story, I'm like, I'm buying them at
Right.
Marcos, I'm pretty much,
and
why is that?
yeah, I know, that's exactly it, and for that,
And the streets go like this.
honestly, don't know. So I background on it a little bit more.
I know it's
Yeah.
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 Yes, September.
That's only because these four people pull out and they're
Oh. And I used to take bus to San Francisco. But then I was so tired of the bus. Oh, the worst traffic. I know what you're talking about, that Novato near us. Never came. There's right after the Golden Gate gave that traffic would be
yeah, at least now they're not trying to.
Novato, a little bit loosens up, and then all went back. There were rains, so we had flooding, plus the traffic fell down. Across the 2 lanes, multi-lane.
Yeah,
I never forget that.
You can turn around and
But
say,
why did I get work?
In fact,
I just come to sleep for hours.
Contracts can go
well, for me,
all the
you know,
contractors
it's
except one. He will not.
I can see, you know, I'm not making a million on
Usually, I don't know why,
the project.
He says, no, I don't go back to that.
He's a cowboy. And he actually but he's a cowboy, he trains horses.
Yeah, they walk right in, so you use that stuff. Trying to make it.
Well, again, welcome, I'm sure I'll see you around 10, but here, very wise.
Randy Allen. He's,
and I was
he does it.
Destroy that.
Anyway, it sounds
Riding back and forth with his Bible in his hand, talking to the light, you know. And we came
okay. The highways are so awesome.
Where's he at?
So again, welcome.
Well, thank you. And there's, there may be the Lord. I love that. I love. Well, come over sometime.
Oh, okay.
it sounds nice, and I'm
You know, and as soon as he got inside, why, he walked around, climbed on board. Rode
And I'm
back and forth in the front of the church, inside the church building. And preaching. And, you know, I took a few snapshots of, you know, because
So you live in Genevieve?
no,
this church,
I know it was for my husband, because sometimes
you don't do that very in church, right?
Right.
So,
Water,
up on this side, across the last round.
Oh, my God.
Even the book gave me one.
Oh, you got this.
No, they
Dude, we
But
love
in
it.
your, side of the
The men love it, because
They put it on
So I can't tell you, and I have a letter with them, and they just,
One of these
never
days,
sure where.
I was talking
up there, water stuff, the way it was,
Okay.
he fell over and created a loss.
Okay. Because I think
Catholic
that's,
Church.
you know, how,
They came to the work, it was one
You know, during the mining festival.
so on and so forth.
oh, hey,
Preaching.
I'm
But
happy
he
that
was
I
very
said.
strong
You
enough
know, I thought
for a little kid not to climb over there, like,
more work for Ann.
water.
I think
I know.
that's gonna be awesome.
We,
Why are you
you know
people
how
with
much
kids
is,
not gonna be nice?
6 to 8.
And there was this,
He's a perfect guy.
Just my neighbor.
so I changed my plan, came out pretty good though.
Post,
Yeah.
yeah, he looked into this because he like us.
I just put it on there.
And those people
I
are.
put it on all the little colors in there.
We've got a
Sometimes I have the
online
younger
school
generation.
in our church tomorrow.
Take advantage.
These are all,
They're doing testing.
I
I
know
had
it's
to
still.
put all these
dangerous.
trousers in there, a lot of different homes. You stand there and look at things.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
like we've got
I think
that
they're
series.
They'll sit down.
I'm not kidding you. Around that corner, you're lucky, and I hold that corner.
Yeah, that's what, cut off the hair and down so that fire
I'm
on
not
that.
like
A lot of people don't really.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit. Yeah, I'm.
They suddenly, the rabbits, they suddenly jump. And I was like, how much do you
Probably ground squirrels and all the birds. kid. Seriously, we have a
Where did you go?
family that has come back.
I went to the military, got out,
I mean, I love
stayed working in construction for 30 years before. I came back and I worked in multi-housing development, redevelopment, apartments, and a few condo properties and stuff.
That was a,
Big companies,
that's good to know.
housing.
drive.
Drop this little, I call it, this guy, and so I was out at the airport.
Yeah,
My parents are still there. My dad's 87. I wrote
no,
this in
these
there.
are primary.
All of them are still alive, but I'm looking back here. I'll keep an eye on them and stuff.
Going down and then the street here. It goes up and this lot right here, I see a lot of
Well, they don't get too much longer than this one.
No.
We're a little embarrassed.
Well, we used to be at the seven. It went down to 5.
Yeah.
Lana,
If you count all the cats and dogs.
no, that was you, right?
Okay, well, that's really good. I'll take it over to you.
Are they like using the land like the renting of this?
No, they're just parking their trailers. They parked myself on the street. Yeah. And so you could be here by.
That's not the MCL. That's not the
But now I'm doing.
Was that too? I did the IEDC one and
It's amazing how no parking signs doesn't work.
It does not. I.
So I tell you what, if you bring that yellow and white, it just doesn't make sense to me. The red mark indicator of no parking sign. I think they're coming up with a lot of tickets. If they will start having more tickets,
And I'm not coming down.
she lives in the Highlands.
I mean, directly. And I didn't see anything that she might have done. They were.
I never heard of it.
There's a lot of animals, a lot of, so.
That's the same, right.
so she was working with the.
Yeah.
I definitely.
I heard about that. That one was good, when you want the root when they down, they put that wheel on your tire, you can't drive it.
And that's
Yeah.
where.
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So where's
Root your car in.
One of the family members. And I'm not gonna have to.
That's the good of the car, pay the fine.
Yeah, that's,
You perhaps will have another.
That's where they can do the test and stuff, wait.
Yeah, and all I want to say, I just want to
I
say,
think if they're comparable, they're not honest, people go up and they won't do it, they start kind of following it.
but when
I really,
they continue, and it's not just me, I think it, like,
I'm like, I could not believe it, really? That's,
they're all.
that shouldn't work.
And
he wasn't even driving.
And she called the police and police fined them.
Well, you ever
They
want
gave them tickets.
to pick some people's brains, you have a hard
it's just, yeah, that's
economic
nice.
give up them all like convenience.
Did you see them too?
You don't have to be on the street. You want to buy
It's
this
just
truck,
a regular situation, and like I said,
fraternize with some of the other
one day,
folks.
somebody,
Ask
Jeff,
questions
I'm
as
not
well.
sure what house they came.
And then you have a pretty good idea.
It's not really yellow, yellow is just for the whole but that's rare.
Some look like a caution or whatever.
I don't know, I guess they're.
Like I said, I really.
And that role is
Actually, there is only most of them have to go to traffic school to learn the rules and.
Take your driver's license.
The next one is,
You lived in Seattle? Wow. When did you move to Seattle? But this
I don't do like.
you're supposed to have another driver's license, like every 25 feet, right? So it's coming soon.
Well, no, I'm ready for it. See, then I came back from New Mexico here, so I've had different licenses, but I might as well take their rules here or there, they don't translate in
Again, they just gave you a license.
license is always current. But when I went to Seattle, they made you take the whole test.
It's a good resource. The very least you come once and you make a connection, and you know, people are taking.
And they said 80% of people that walk in the stores
You
fail
go to
the
the
test.
NCAA stuff.
Pass the test. Then they-
You fell? I did.
I just took it for granted not to take, read the book. But they asked you the questions that nobody ever really pays attention to. How many feet from the rib,
Yes.
this, and the hydrants.
I had one question wrong, so when the second time after, you know, like, after like 15 years or whatever, 20 years, I have to just get
Central
this
Arizona Economic.
test in California, and one of the questions was,
Free event.
what was more dangerous, if the loaded truck with a trailer goes down the hill or goes up the hill? Guess what? I start thinking too much and I turn on the women's watch. Oh, what's the answer?
I've been
I
to it,
start
I went to it
thinking, if he goes up to the hill, and then what if he loses the trailer, then it's more dangerous. Isn't that women's logic? So it goes down the hill, so I said on the hill.
Apparently, I'm going to be involved in some type of planning for it as well.
We all make
So I worked here, but I was laughing at myself, it's like, well, I guess I turned on my women's watch, because I start thinking, what is this and what is that? And then I forgot thinking about this, to think about going down. What did I think? It was lose trailer. How did it lose trailer?
No, well, I see people lose their for
It is me.
Maybe I don't.
I've just been worried so far about getting the certification.
I don't know, I'm tired.
I don't think there's any credits for it.
No, my resources are.
Oh.
I lived in Scotts Valley for 4 years.
So, yeah, so.
Scotts Valley, what is it?
Scotts Valley
Where is it?
is just north of San
It's good, man.
I'm like,
Oh,
So south of San Jose, and San Jose and stuff. And,
you used to live there.
yes.
Well, I thought you
I
were
was there
living
for 4 years, so in school there.
California, South California.
So we weren't that far from Fresco, so didn't get over there much.
My great grandmother lived in San Jose for
Very busy.
Mhm.
Very busy.
85 years.
85 years, she's born there and she
No,
passed.
she's older. She died when she was 98.
Wow.
She came up from Mexico and her.
She was around 98 years, wow.
My grandma, her daughter, which was my grandma,
Somebody's doing it somewhere.
she lived in 93.
My grandma, 90 years.
And then my other grandma died in 94.
So you will have a one. You can, you keep working in that public works department.
Stick around.
Stress will kill me.
Just keep yourself busy.
They told me, you'll be all right, just don't stop working.
But guess what, the basic part gave me an idea, he had another idea, to put similar, like what you
Yes.
did.
Or you going tomorrow?
Pergola with a less truss, and then we will do kind of like, post and, and we'll put, shade. So I looked at the prices for, so each shade like maybe $1,000 something. If there's different sizes, there's triangular. So if there is that street at 60 feet, I will put yes, put on the middle like this, the triangle ones. Different colors, like these red colors. Like one is blue, another is like purple, green. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, well,
For the stage and for the
you
dance.
could build those frames at angles.
To put them, yes. And then we put those shadings, they will be beautiful. Very colorful. And then there will be paintings, right, papers for dancing. That would be nice. Stage, papers, and then we had another idea for grass.
Like you better sit on the very back and you should
Like
have to, it's like.
We went on and talked about it. We were, yeah.
So he gave me all that I need today, so I'll have to redesign it.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
The only thing is, Basic Park goes like this down, that street goes down, right? And we'll have to close the street, fill the soil to do that,
Yeah, that's. I know.
But then, this sidewalk will be removed, this sidewalk, we will keep this sidewalk. So to keep that sidewalk, if your sidewalk goes down the street and you're going to raise that, you have to have some concrete wall here from the sidewalk.
Yeah, you'll do a side,
Concrete wall here.
You'll cheer it with the terrace.
We'll keep this sidewalk next to the museum.
Yeah, that sidewalk, but where you terrace it, you have to put like a little pony wall.
Yep, exactly. It has to go this way so we can step it
My
down.
brother's a
And they will be beautiful.
CFO, private financial
I still think that if we put the fake grass, it'd be easier. That's right. Like they did the little round one area that
Like reading grass, they have grass, like concrete, and then grass inside of it, but those are natural.
specific circumstances.
And the fake grass was so much easier because what I thought, sitting down, people prefer it, in the grass.
But yeah, so they,
I think it will be more maintenance than just like,
yeah, because
fake grass will be easy. It's just budding.
they make some, well, you go in and they make some really good outdoor grass for that nowadays.
The green grass, it will be, I thought right away, so for sitting, for standing, for playing, it will be much more caring. Nice to meet you, Natalie. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I'll help you again. Thank you. Bye. Drive safely home. Okay, I'm so thirsty. There is a water.
Good water in that ice.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll see you. All right, take care. Yeah, no.
Is it empty?
Yes.
Okay.
Why did you guys-
All right, man.
Did you guys have water?
Safe.
Sure.
It's gonna all be nice and I'll get you guys some water.
No, I have some.
Okay, see Brandy's Marcia gives you water.
Yeah.
So you gotta look up that paper for me and let me know where.
We will. That'd be nice. I didn't realize you had it. Well, like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
The figures and everything, you got that, right?
I just conjure them up in my head because I already know them. But the form itself, like I said, You had one in your guys' computer system,
We probably still do. We'd save all this much.
job estimate for vandalism or something like that. It was-
Okay. That'd be a good one.
And then if I get a hard copy of that, then I can make some copies and, well, forward, I can just say, fill it out here. And then make it easier, like it'd be easier for both of us.
Yeah, you'll be here tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you say?
I'll be here a little bit late in the morning.
Okay.
I gotta drive to Phoenix and back in the first thing in the morning, so I'll be here a little bit late
Take my
morning.
purse here. You can have to go there.
Well, I'm out of here, I'm tired, I've been up since 3.
Yeah.
You didn't say it was only from Belmont to there.
Windows and off on sharp curves.
Yeah, are you volunteering and you're still upset why I have to come all the way from
I
Belmont?
hadn't, I
She
should.
just laid everybody out,
I
man,
hadn't looked at that, I
everybody.
should take my purse. So now I'm like, oh, wow.
She's a volunteer, she was just gonna go help direct traffic, or I don't know what she was doing, but
I have a
she
piece
just
of-
laid everybody out. And they're totally upset because she drove all the way from Belmont out there.
Okay.
It's the damn.
You heard them?
That was it was a long day.
It's too much work.
Right?
Well, I had a long day
I
the other day.
did.
I had to
Oh,
get my son
I
to
know you
Maricopa
want to hear this.
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
You'll drive.
I really tried to do everything I can
Yeah.
to make a smile on your
And then
face.
the
Okay, there's no
Amtrak
more
was about 10
graffiti
minutes,
now.
15 minutes late.
Anthony, we still
Oh,
have
yeah.
a good donuts there, if you want.
Once he boarded, man, they got out of here fast.
I'll put it on the list, but they were asking
He was headed to Waco, Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because of the what?
How much does it cost?
It was just a little over $100. And that includes all your meals in the
Yeah,
dining
that's,
car.
I've heard that too.
Well, I don't know how they can say that
You
because
know, if you take the bus, you gotta stop and
Graves, we
go into whatever restaurant you're near. and
every, I mean, the whole
buy your
surrounding,
food,
we don't
and
just
just
clean
walk
the
over to the dining car and get your lunch.
The only place that I know that's,
Whatever, how much
the
gas it costs.
only place I know that's not clean right
Or a
now
little over that.
is down on the high school side,
Yeah.
south side of the cemetery.
That could be where they were at.
But there's nobody out there, there's just,
We
it's
drove-
just a plain field and there's a road and then
Near
there's
there.
nothing.
But it was,
That's my
We
deal.
drove through the night.
He's already cleaned
Oh, no,
it
they
up.
called it.
I think,
They called
we
it
stopped
today, and I
when
was
we
just like,
got there.
okay, I'm like,
you know,
My
there's
son was
probably
living
sporadic spots.
just right on the New
But like
Mexico,
again-
Texas border, and they,
You have to tell them
there
sometimes.
was
you
something
say,
wrong
"No,
with the baby, so
you're
they shipped her to
responsible for
the
your own
university over
grade.
there, in the big hospital there.
Because that's your property.
Darn good thing they did,
A lot of
because
people
man,
say,
they took care
the
of
town's
it.
gonna clean it,
Okay.
and I don't have to.
Yeah, and when we
And
got
that's the
there,
general, idea, because
we had to walk into the
I just get tired of
tree
saying,
room and
you know,
wash up and gown
clean
up.
around, and it only.
And I mean, everything was gowned up. And then we were allowed to go
I
in.
didn't tell me what it was, I just.
They might
And
want
I mean-
their own properties, graves to be cleaned
Yeah.
out.
He weighed
Yeah,
about a
and that's
pound.
what it is. And then,
I said, you know, there's not
what a
much
mesa,
kind of
they
meat,
don't think
you
they're
know.
gonna see that.
And he was only about.
They're just the
Take care
heads
of
going to
myself. This is my family
So
members,
good.
right? I will take care of it
Right
myself.
now.
They drive over on top of all the
He's,
graves in
in
high school, cut the lawn down
Doing
the
great.
mesa, all the
Straight
places.
Oh, I see.
They drive on
Oh,
top
this
of
was many years ago, I see.
Oh,
it's sacrilegious.
Yeah, about a dozen years ago.
Oh,
so,
stanchions down.
but
You
now
put it
he's
on
in
top of
high
my
school,
grave,
so-
oh my God.
But he's,
The world's gonna come to an
yeah,
end. I'm
amazing.
like, we gotta dig another grave right here next to yours.
We
What,
talked
that's
to
on
a
top.
pastor at church there. I said, look, we need a motel.
They're
He
getting
says, well, there's
ready.
one I use for
There's
just
something on top of the dirt.
And he says, I'll explain the situation with the
It
baby
is,
and everything.
it's
And
amazing.
you're gonna need to stay there for close to a week, and the guy gave to
Just say.
50%.
Honest, the guy came to
Not
us in
bad.
tears,
Yeah,
so
because
upset.
the pastor,
that
he
the
has
back
guests
was one
stay
of the
there at that
buildings on top of
motel
his
all the
deck.
time, so the guy goes, yeah, he goes, oh, help somebody out? I'm like, oh, he goes,
It's like,
yeah,
it's like
okay.
my town.
Tell you what, we'll cut it
You know, in
50%.
our town, the cemetery,
No,
each
cheap way to stay there, and it was,
It's like
and
I
it
do,
was
and then we like to
like a
walk
mile
around
away
and
from
look at the,
university,
like walking
so
on
it
the
wasn't
streets,
bad.
walking, checking
Right
this
over
one's
there.
there, this one's, it's just like memory, memorizing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
Yeah.
how people are here.
Go out.
Very touchy
What
touchy.
you were doing.
So anyways, Ken, giving that note, I said, we do the best we can, but you know, you are still responsible for your own
It was just
safety.
south and east of
Sound like that.
Dallas, Fort Worth area.
I mean, you might get a earful,
Little ways.
You don't want any more earphones.
but it's not, it's
They've got
not,
a big, huge medical thing.
you make
there.
it just, it's like,
Incredible.
everybody just says,
And,
well, if I say
That
that,
hospital,
and
I've
then
never
make it
seen a
hard for me,
hospital that went
because
through
I
things
see it.
like they did. They
well,
go,
they didn't tell me that at
Oh,
town
don't care.
hall.
we'll take care of it, not a big deal. You know, and kids born 6 months early,
Says, look at, this is the rules and regulations for the
we can
cemetery.
handle
You are
it.
responsible for your own property.
You
just
guys
like
are
your
good
own
here.
house.
Well, that's all.
And we started
This is
doing
what
that,
we're focused on.
started doing it.
Early premiums, early duties. So,
I will not. I don't want an earphone.
I just, I was impressed.
Because I don't know, with my life, they do like, can I speak to the town manager?
So what's a slow day for you?
Because I bite my tongue already enough when it comes to the sewer line, and the sewer stuff. It's like,
Some may be slow sometimes, but they're always,
Well, I get it from the streets, I get it from the sewer,
and they're all,
I get it from the
I have
cemetery.
something that tops you right now.
I get it too.
I
Because
figured
but
with
they said they
Bring the target out.
saying that I told somebody they had to shut down.
a folding table and set it up out there.
oh,
You
man.
know,
And,
Black powder.
blow some black powder down the barrel.
or I get
So-
all kinds of grief.
Oh, I'd be interested.
So we did that
Superior, I have superior.
a couple Saturdays ago. We were up by Dugas, and
Florence, Eli,
we had our,
Wood,
they had the targets set
That's why
up,
nobody comes in
and
all the time.
you only allowed 2 shots.
Probably about 1,000.
And you're far enough away that, man, if the slightest little itch,
So,
and you'd miss the target.
Thanks.
It wasn't big.
and I have to
Yeah,
say
they had
it
a
with a
triangle.
smile.
This
And at the
wide,
end, like,
and
it's good that
you
we
had
have.
to hit the rim of the triangle.
So, yeah.
Make it
But she
stand.
saw that.
And then they had a chain
Vaseline that Saturday.
hanging there, and you had to hit the chain. And, I mean, you can
Okay.
wiggle the chain, but that ain't enough. You gotta hit the chain, make it
Yes,
swing.
start yelling at
And,
him,
several
why
other
you're
things, just
closing,
same.
why,
And they're like
you,
30
and
yards away.
I explained to the lady, I said,
Yeah.
well, because the
And there was
containers are full.
bad breeze
and
that
aren't
day.
you supposed to be happy
So,
that we're
Yeah,
finishing up the
trying to-
work, that we've
wind's
filled out the
knocking you like
containers,
this.
and,
trying to hold it steady,
you know, we've done a good job, right?
but it just
Well,
makes it fun.
I just came in, I am
She's a volunteer.
I'm the volunteer, and I just came in.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm volunteer too, and I'm here from 7 a.m. And you come at 9:45 and you're complaining about it.
Thompson Center
She
Hawkins,
drove all the way from
But-
Superior.
it doesn't have the original
All the way
repair.
from
That was
Superior.
replaced with a Green River barrel.
Wow.
And so it's about 6 inches longer, slower twist rate.
Right.
So, it's
Really?
more
Wow.
Superior to the
accuracy.
transfer station?
She
And,
drove all the way from
yeah,
Superior.
I had to buy a longer
That's what she
ramrod.
And she was,
I'm a volunteer
It's,
and I didn't have the courtesy of a
954
phone call.
yes.
Nobody told me, and I
You
don't
can
know
put
what's going on here.
30
And
grains of powder
I'm
down
out
there.
here from
I
Superior.
was
And a
shocked.
round wall,
I
that
was
round
like,
wall.
I didn't say much,
And
but I said, and I'm
kicks like a
thinking
22.
myself, aren't you supposed to be
So,
happy that
it's a little heavy, but,
finishing and
you know,
we're done,
grade school
we're
kids can
good,
ship
we're
it.
good,
Not a big deal.
everything-
And
Everything's worked out.
I like to
and,
take an empty paint
and I
can,
told
fill
her,
it
I
up with
said,
dirt,
"There
and
was
set it
like
out
50
there.
cars, and when I
If you
came
hit it, it
here,
rocks back and forth, so you know you got it.
I
And,
just came
pretty
here,
easy for
and
kids
I'm
to
the
hit.
volunteer. Well, I'm
But
the volunteer too, and I'm here
friend of
from
mine,
7 a.m. That's
she-
what I
she
told
This
her.
kid's a good shooter, and he picked it up and
Yeah,
shot it.
she
and
was
that's
So
all.
I didn't know who you are, and I didn't even have your phone number. I didn't
Big,
call.
huh?
I was, you know, thinking black powder, man, this is got, you know,
Yeah.
rock here. And I said,
Blow the
dude,
doors out.
I loaded that.
I go
You can't win with
I'm
me,
going
Anthony.
home.
You
I said, I
can't
didn't know
win.
that
You're
from you.
lucky.
Bye.
I said, okay. I said, you just hold
Why
on a second.
well, I didn't make it.
Pulled out a plastic tube, speedboat,
No, it's,
flipped the can,
he has
got
too
the
much
powder
work.
down,
Put the other cap, push the bolt down. So, this was 140 grains of powder.
All right.
And this was an ounce and a half of lead. This looked more like a bullet off of a cartridge. And it's lube instead of patch.
An ounce and a half.
And about an ounce and a half. I
That's a little
loaded
bigger than a
everything
12
down
gauge slug.
there. I laid it down there on the table. I said, okay, here you go, Chuck. Your turn. And he picked the thing up. And he's holding it like this. X-range. So I barked. Like a good range master should. And I said, lock that into your shoulder as tight as you can. And I want a death grip.
Well, then why are you asking? Oh, you didn't know.
Because I barked it. I didn't say it. I barked it. He stared at me and said, dude, I've been a range master. I know what I'm doing. So he got a death grip on the forehead, locked it into his shoulder, touched it off. As soon as he touched it off, his right leg came back about 2 feet. His shoulder reared way back like this. And the gun went. And there was a big roar when it went off. And he just went, whoa! Yeah, that's more like it. That's what I expected. I said, well, if you were on target, I said, you just took out that buffalo or that moose.
This is my first.
I said, now your kids were taking rabbits and squirrels, okay? You just, you just nailed the big one. And he goes, whoa. I said, see, that's the main thing about it. Black powder, you can load it from what your gun squirrels. Yeah. Put a little round ball, just
But what we
30,
do,
40
we
grains.
review the architectural.
Target shooting. Yeah, 40, 50 grains of powder. So you get a good kick. And,
But can that, can it all be shot at the same rocket?
yeah,
They're going over discussions.
So.
no, because the, it's got rifling in there, it's gonna send it right out. The thing is that bigger lead, the big bullet, the maxi, yes, it's gonna have a little more drop because it's weight. So you're gonna have to aim just a little bit higher than long distance. But, that round ball, shoot those things, at 100 yards, you can aim right at the target.
Or no, see that?
Could be the second one.
All those round balls, you see some,
That's why she's.
my son's got a 50 caliber. So, and they're just slightly thin, because you're gonna put a cloth patch around it. So, it's cotton, and it's treated with an oil. And so you ram that down in and tight. You don't want it loose, you want it tight, because otherwise it's gonna kick on it a little bit. But that'll send that sucker flying. And we were shooting at 100-yard ranges, and we were putting about 600 grains of powder, which is 100 yards out. But that was enough to just aim right dead on and aims good. You hear it ring when it hits the target.
Kind of sights.
Iron, just standard 3-point, 2 back here, 1 in the middle. Yeah, just like my HK. Same 3 sides. My father-in-law, he went deer hunting for with black powder because it was a little easier season, and so everybody else flies with a regular rifle.
Right.
And so
Well, I think you ought to probably be better.
he helped me get one, and it was a Thompson Center
He
Hawkins.
also messed up that.
And so that he and I could go hunting. And when we lived on Moffett over here, the house got broken into and the gun disappeared. And all my rifles disappeared. I had a 30-06. Used to be a military rifle and been upgraded to sporting. And I took it into a range to have it beside me. And the guy studied it for a while. And he comes back, he goes, when this was in the military, it was probably fired 5 or 6 times. Because he said the rifle in this thing is like it just came from the factory. And I went, I noticed it was pretty tight. He goes, tight? He says, if we clamp it in the place, the birds are going to chase each other through the hole. And I went, oh, I like that. Well, somebody stole it.
And I had some 6 guns, Western style, stole them, stole all my shotguns and everything. Stole walkie-talkies and other stuff.
Small town, community like this,
And
everybody knows.
we figured out who the guy was. And he was one of the guys that you never want to turn in because he'll retaliate against your family. And,
So it's like every month, like every so many months, he has to
I
call.
don't know his name now.
So this,
But he was stealing from everybody. And they caught him down in Kearney driving a stolen car.
has to go in.
And so he went to jail for that for a little while, not very long. And then he was back out on the streets.
Like he has to go through the whole machine.
My neighbor,
We have to change his medicine.
just down the street behind us, she says, you know, he stored some stuff under some blankets in my basement area. And one day she says, I went down there to get something of my stuff.
Asthma, something like that, so all allergies.
Guns.
Every time the birch trees, they're blue.
You get them out of here now. And I went, that was about the same time I was stolen from. I said, honey, my guns were in your basement. She's going, I would let you come over and get them.
So you didn't get any of that?
No, didn't.
How long ago was this?
That was when we lived on Moffett, right in front of the lumber yard.
Really?
Leave next to the sea, so they sent her summertime.
We've been 12, so it was about 16 years ago or so.
3 weeks on the sea,
No.
breathing.
A lot of folks from that day and age, we have that.
So we should try to,
Well,
you know, they have special
they're not around.
breathing.
Yeah, I had everything
Yeah.
stolen. I had 2-way radios that
But
were
for him,
stolen.
like, he can't do.
You perhaps have some clean air.
Yeah, Sandy lost her
You know, I don't. not
treadle
study.
sewing machine.
But yeah.
It was her grandmother's, and by the way, you open one drawer,
Stuff like that, he can't do those.
and there is
He has
this
to
yellow
be, there's
It
certain.
doesn't hurt.
It makes it worse.
from the store
And then it goes, and then it triggers in miles.
that was purchased.
So like if he's sick or
And
when he's
when they
sick,
got it,
oh,
it's still in there.
get sick of this. We use
We found out
the
through
one that I found, even though, was that,
friends of friends, not the kind of group of people you don't really want to be friends with.
but we have to fix papers.
But they found out who had it, and
And he was
so Sandy talked to the woman, and she said,
It's just like-
I was one with trouble, and I've got one. She said, no, I do
Air
that.
conditioner, clean air, stuff, you know, how they dry air, they put it on so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And he's like,
It's incredible.
it's so weird for him because like he's like opposite of asthma.
So wait,
So like stuff
let me
that.
get the rest. So install it.
Works for a regular asthmatic, doesn't work.
We found out where
And so
the
like if
sewing
all
machine
asthmatic
So it's kind of
We,
new.
the rest of the
So
guys,
kind of like with
I
him, it's
kept
kind of
lying down to Florence every so often and
when
checking
an
over there.
asthmatic-
Well, I mean, at that point, whether she paid for
But
it
he's
or not,
doing
right?
great.
That's where we get involved in some action
When
possession of
those
stolen property.
Yeah,
doing great, he's doing
Yeah.
phenomenal.
so,
I don't know if there's enough.
who
So
had
like
it?
now that we'll be getting to
My
the
wife
committee-
knows, I don't
the
know,
committee,
but,
everything, it'll start.
he just went, well,
It'll
it's
start
all right,
triggering
so.
asthma.
We explained, you know, how she knew it was stolen. She knew it was stolen.
Oh, like, well, like it's the.
No, it's,
We start getting to 100 and some degrees when the.
gosh, we moved here in 96, April of 96, so,
I tell them, you're just.
Few years ago.
been here for a while. Seen a lot of changes.
Maybe,
Where are you here from?
have you
We
talked
were
to
in
doctors?
Central Phoenix.
Where would be best for
okay,
you to
so
place to leave?
32nd Street, Camelback area.
Higher parts where there is a pine
So
tree.
we were associates at a church there for
Yeah, we had
8.5
to
years.
I'm not gonna be, we can't.
No, you don't need to,
I
but
just
like,
said to him,
you
I'll
can
be-
go
We moved over here,
You know, like high school or like a community
Chief
college.
Garcia.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the like black stuff, it's a little colder
I'm sure he
there.
would, yeah. I'm sure he would love it.
He wanted to talk to me after the town
I mean,
council
we
meeting.
could
I said,
play
why don't I talk to you after the town council meeting? He says, okay. So afterwards he goes, would you consider being the chaplain?
Oh, you know, even
He said, I
here.
want you to go home and think about it, talk about it with your wife and pray over it and everything.
6 months after when you realize they
My answer is yes.
realize You have to pay for
He goes,
it.
Right?
aren't you good? I said, I told you I needed to talk to you.
And he's
I
got
said,
eight
my
calls
question
a day.
is, do you have chaplain?
My oldest.
I kind of thought you didn't. He goes, oh my gosh, we're both on the same page. He goes, all right, thank you. So,
And it's like,
it was, what, 2 weeks later or something, or whenever, next town council gave me my badge. It was used then. You know how old it is? It's been around a while.
Services.
Polishes up okay, but not as, these newer ones that they polish up way better than that. It's old brass.
Yeah, most of the new ones have that, finishing out.
Yeah,
And
this
my
one
middle
doesn't.
wants to do the same. He's like,
So-
Mom, I can see my middle
And
one
the guys always say, toothpaste,
going
I
to
know.
service.
try it,
For my
doesn't
middle
work.
one, it's just gonna be
Yeah,
Brasso,
I said that too.
the school.
back to the Brasso, let's see what we want to
The only services, you know, you never know.
But,
That's the scary part.
Mhm.
I think the hardest part was,
Yeah. it is.
before they fixed the highway.
Mostly
All
it's,
the
it's
accidents.
real budget, you know, mostly.
But no, that was,
By the time I
You
was
said we could do it.
yeah, I know.
You
know what?
That's the one nice thing about it.
The biggest change in
My
accidents
husband was,
occurred
Oh, really?
when they
Mm-hmm.
doubled the little glued on pieces and put this brand new, really bright paint down
My dad loved it.
that just glows under your headlights.
I think
And
so.
with that one, those little things,
You got it.
it goes boom, 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 instead of bump, 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 you know.
Well, you know, because let's do that. That'd be
Okay,
a great idea.
so, but I watched it. Now, when you hit your with your tires, man, it's like a machine gun right on you, instead of this bump, bump, bump. And in that, your headlights just made the lines glow. I'm going, that was a cheap way to do it. Well, then they made two roads, but just
Or I was
a
here.
better paint and doubling those things.
I was right in front back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
I had to listen, I listened to
How many
everything.
people want to spend thousands of dollars
Mom told me to
and
sit in front.
for just
I sit in front.
$1,000
I guess
to
he
fix
told
the
me to
problem.
sit here.
Yeah, you could always sit over here.
Yeah, next time I'll do that.
I mean, it didn't come and fix it. I mean,
Right
it's
there.
better now, but even
Well,
still,
Okay, so
we were going from accident after accident
If you
to
would tell me
once every
today,
once in
you
a while.
know, you have a speech, I would prefer better.
Oh,
What's going to happen?
Todd likes to put you on the spot. So now,
Yeah, of
since
course
Chris
there was
didn't come
one.
in today, they come in
One way or the
tomorrow.
other.
Chris,
Oh, yeah.
The three crosses.
I hope they will come tomorrow.
well, he needs to get it in here as soon as possible.
Well,
because
I
we
know,
need to-
it's in his interest.
Grandma,
Well, yeah,
The
because that
longer he
would
waits, the longer it will.
Gary
the temporary,
was a
I will call them,
veterinarian.
I have their both cell phone numbers, I'll call Tracy.
He was working with
because
her,
he
and
has,
he gave her 9.
I mean, no matter how we look at it, it's 30-day wait after
Yes.
today, but it's been approved
I'm
for
told
that
I'm
temporary.
supposed to
He
take
still has
that.
30 days, but
It's
he
not.
has 30 days to get his driver's license. So
But he had us hooked
we
up
would
to the
have
hospital.
to, if he gets us in right
ER,
away,
and so
get it on to
they were
start
communicating, and then all of her signs were being sent over. And
Because that
Monday.
takes, yeah, because that takes
give her another
quite
one.
some bit of time because you have to
Give her another
notify.
one.
Well, then you have to, and then you have to notify
I
the
know.
Middle of May.
Mhm. You have to
Because
notify within the, what, 25
He turned
mile
to me
radius
and
of the
said,
people around you.
success.
And it's got,
He
still
said-
has to go to planning and zoning, and for planning
Well,
and zoning, it
physically
still
her
has
heart's
to go
okay,
to-
but it's still broken, so. My
It still
job's
has to
done,
go
it's your
to
job now,
council.
pastor, get over here. So,
In May,
and JJ came over with you
so they're,
toward the end of that. She goes, Dennis, your family,
we have to mail,
don't not, just walk in the door.
we have to mail. Daryl and them had to go for the property right here off of, Porphyry, the one that's the
Steve's never forgotten.
The old Knights of Columbus, the one that they're turning
We
the
were having
two-story building into a
raffle for
four-bedroom apartment.
quilt.
Because that would have to go through a rezone.
And we saw us doing the raffle, this is gotten by.
So with that,
So he did.
they have to do the mailing out. I know, I'm hanging out. I know, yeah, it's good here. Yes, run in and go get it.
Call him on the side.
It's conference. Second iceberg in there.
Last Friday, chaplains
Next I have to go put, alter a dress.
Oh my goodness.
Give her some babies.
Night is not over yet.
Times changed.
I think we need to go tonight for this.
People out there now on the streets.
Fundraiser that I'm doing.
Yeah, okay, we'll see you, be careful.
You know what, and don't leave, I have something for you to take to that raffle on Sunday, so. All right. Ruby, or do we know if Sergeant Shackelford's next door? Francine, do we know?
I don't know, we're back today.
I was like, oh, there's
That's the one.
That's what, that's what I said.
I had a whole bunch of those, but Arlene was putting it on my box, I was like, oh, I had a whole home delivery. No, I worked for them, so. I get copies of the CBN, the minor, we have more newspaper. If you ever need to do a part paper mache project or something, you can come to our house every week. We have an assortment, taking in caps. Mr. Cooper, are we good to get started, or should we wait for Mr. Pryor?
Are you guys, do you need to make a comment? Press record.
Oh,
I suggest that maybe we tell them we're ready to go.
we were leaving Ajo, and it wasn't windy on our way down there, but on the way home, it was like, oh my gosh.
He's behind closed doors right now.
All right, we're just gonna go ahead and get a move on with this particular agenda item.
She needs to turn the camera.
Oh, sorry, Erin, you don't wait,
That's
you don't have
okay.
to run. Roll call. All right.
Yes.
All right, council, I'd like to return to opening session, or regular session. Council, do we have a motion to return to? There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. There's a second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're moving into our regular session, which, after our executive session, is item A, instruct town manager, legal counsel to proceed as directed in executive session. Council, do we have a motion and/or action around these items?
For the record, specifically, that is the issue involving Bronco, the Bronco Creek discussion.
No, this is back to the back to Bronco Creek. There is no action to be taken on that. That was just information and an update. But now we're on to the executive session, I'm sorry. Executive session, item 10, and that is instruct town manager and or legal counsel to proceed as directed in executive session. And then B, item possible appointment of chief of police and setting a salary. Those are our 2 agenda items. Mr. Cooper, do you have some legal advice for us, or some
Mayor,
procedural?
Procedurally, because these are 2 matters, I would suggest that you address them separately by separate motions.
Okay,
And as to the first one, basically, you would just move to instruct the town manager and/or legal counsel to proceed as directed in executive session as that item. Then the next item, basically, we can address that when you're ready for it.
okay. All right, council, so at this time, do we have a motion to direct the town manager and or legal counsel to proceed as directed as per executive session discussion? So moved. There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Councilmember Navarrete. Now move on to, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to agenda item B, possible appointment of chief of police and setting a salary. Council, do you have a motion to direct staff to make a negotiation with our second candidate for police chief?
So,
There's a motion by Councilmember Aguilar.
salary on that?
And negotiate a salary. And I think
I think that that would be covered under the first item. The second item that's before you is the possible appointment of the chief of police and an effective date.
okay, so
So he made a motion, so you have a motion.
So there's a motion on the floor, but there's not a second.
Second,
I don't know if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I need a second motion in which to, for the other item,
interim.
the
Right.
interim, to appoint,
I'll make a motion to appoint Sergeant Shackelford as interim chief, pending he agrees to it,
Effective what day?
effective immediately, tomorrow,
Okay.
no, effective
Effective
immediately now,
effective immediately.
in a temporary capacity till a new chief. Can you amend
In
your,
a temporary capacity until a new chief is hired.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Aguilar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
We have to ask
We should.
Oh, do you accept, it'll be a temporary role?
I guess I'm kind of caught off guard by all of this.
Why don't you come up to the microphone? Sergeant Shackelford, the council is looking at hiring a chief of police, and we need to have an interim chief of police serve until such time as that task is accomplished. The council has made a motion and they voted that they would have offered you the job of interim chief of police to serve immediately until such time as the chief of police comes before the council and the final contract. And the specific question is, would you be willing to assume those duties?
Yeah, we're talking, and we made a motion to offer the contract to the second candidate. So
Which is,
you're talking a time frame of not more than 3 weeks?
Possibly 3 weeks.
And the second candidate is, are we not allowed to discuss?
Frank Alanis.
Is there any way we can go into executive session again?
You have questions or
I have a lot of questions. I thought the chief position had been settled.
No, it was, the previous offer has been rescinded. And it was, when it was offered, it was made on pending a background check and other contract negotiations. There have been items that, in the background check, that the council has felt that we needed to move in a different direction and make an offer to Mr. Albanese.
Sergeant Chuck, for your specific question, because we don't really have that agenda size, we would not be able to do this in an executive session this evening. One of the reasons for suggesting an appointment is that we make sure that we have a chain of command in place. And we would ask you to speak with the town manager about your situation, and after you discuss it with him, if you have concerns or you feel like you can't fulfill the duty, because of whatever reason, you can let us know, and then we can call a special meeting to basically appoint another interim chief of police. But we just want to make sure that there's no interruption in the chain of command of the police department.
Or if we have to call in, we don't want you to feel like you have to, we need you to kind of do this in a very temporary capacity, but we also, if we have to call in another agency, we're well aware, but we do not feel that the current leadership, it's not a wise move for the town to remain with this current interim status. So you'd be the interim chief.
And what, if I may ask, what becomes of interim chief?
He returns to his previous sergeant position and sergeant pay.
And the discussion that you'd have with the town manager would be, because you're taking additional duties, we would have to look at your compensation in light of the fact that you're no longer doing sergeant duties.
If you do not feel you can effectively take this role, please tell the council and we will talk to Canal County or PCSO.
We'll need to be calling them, you know, something will need to be done immediately.
I can take it all. As you mentioned, I don't think there should be an interruption in our services and our command staff. So I accept.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you very much.
It's
Appreciate it.
solely based on interim.
Yes. And this will not be a long-term interim position, it's just temporary while we get through the final stages of the selection. So at this time, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Did we vote already? I forget.
Yes.
Everybody's voted, it's unanimous.
I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion on the floor to adjourn. Oh, well, everybody who's here, we have schedules of events, meetings and events coming up. I think everybody can read the agenda. The adjournment, we have a motion on the floor by Councilmember Armitage. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And Ruby, you'll have to get the time so I have my watch on. Thank you, council, for 9:02. Thank you, council, for a good discussion and leadership tonight.
Second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.